Welcome to the H series of webinars. This webinar series is aimed at new and aspiring sheep producers to give them a step up into the Queensland sheep industry. This webinar is part 4 of the series and is titled Herding Foundations. It explores the basics of working sheep in an uncontrolled environment and how working dogs can be used to move sheep efficiently and effectively. This webinar was delivered by renowned stock handler and dog trainer Neil McDonald on the 9th of July 2020. This is clip 6 of 8 and covers some handling tips, tricks and traps for beginners.
This might look a little odd, but sometimes when you're yarding sheep up, there's old pirate dragon ewes that happen to work out that if they get right in the middle of the mob, the dog and the person can't affect them. And they think they're immune to being shifted. So you've got these sheep wanting to go in a yard, in a gate to our left here on the screen. There's dogs at the back of the yard holding these. And Helen's got in the middle of the mob with a bag, a dog food bag, and crackled it. And all of a sudden these stubborn old dragons go, wow, she can get in here. So they get somewhere out of it. They make some movement. Some go back, some go forward. So you wave the bag until they move. And once they start moving, then you stop waving the bag so they get relief. And it wouldn't be, if there was another photo, then Helen would turn around and come along with these on our left to get that, like we said last week, get that front fifth of the mob going in, then the second fifth, and she would stay up in the gate. And those old stubborn ewes that were either in the middle or at the back would see the rest of the mob streaming away from her and then want to head in. But an old purist probably would have fainted by now seeing someone in the middle of the mob. But it's amazing, we finish in the middle of the mob when we don't want to sometimes. So this was actually by design. A couple of other notes here that we don't have photos for. It doesn't apply in our country because our paddocks are 10 acres or big ones 100 acres. So if you put freshly weaned sheep or newly purchased sheep in a paddock, they'll naturally walk around and find their water. But in this Western Queensland country, you might put sheep in a substantially bigger paddock and the wind might be in the wrong direction and the sheep camped into the wind away from the water. And so it's probably super important for younger people coming into the industry. If that's not explained to them, then that's something you've got to watch for, that sheep aren't held off and perish. Another thing we haven't shown is what I call scissors. And say you've got rogue sheep and they're wanting to disappear and you've got multiple people on bikes. It's really good if you get one person to go to the front of the mob on the bike and drive down the side to the back, and the person at the back drive up the side to the front. And like a scissor action, they go to and fro down either side of the mob. And then those sheep they think it's one continual bike, a wall of bike down the side. So it seems like a lot of unnecessary travel, but if you folks out in Western Queensland have got rogue sheep that haven't seen any handling for a while, or mustering wild goats, that's a real good trick, is to have two people down the side, instead of just riding along talking to each other, do a zigzag effect, and that will, once you get to the yards, those sheep like these would have certainly surrendered from wanting to do any escaping. I've covered as much as I think I can with the in this period of time, with the hints on what to look for and what to aim at with managing stock, and this was the herding part. So it's it's very little difference between herding and handling, but that gives you a bit of an insight what to look for whilst mustering, and how to go about your waters, and how to have your livestock in a frame of mind where say you go around your waters twice a week, that's 100 times a year they're seeing you at the water. So the way you drive around the paddock, and it's also super important if you sell shifting livestock, when you put them into the new feed allocation area, new cell, call it what you want, that you block them up and stop them from running, because that blocking up and stopping them from running, there's nothing worse than having cell grazed sheep the other end of the paddock and they hear a vehicle, say the agronomist turns up, and they think that's their cue for a shift and they come running. So a lot of people have trouble with sheep and cattle running for the shift when it wasn't due. And because I've heard any sort of vehicle, it might be someone coming out to your place yabbing, anybody. So it's super important to stop livestock from indiscriminately running to you. It's to block them up well when you put them in the new feed allocation area. That is an important point.
Thank you for watching this short clip. For more information, please visit www.leadingsheep.com.au.